Hi, I'm Jerry Weinstock. Welcome to my session on flow buttons. Hopefully you're here because you'd like to learn more about flow buttons. Maybe you've done some experimenting with them. Maybe you've been successful. Maybe they didn't work out quite the way that you wanted them to. Today I'm going to show you the three different types of flow buttons. We're going to walk through a demo of each one, try and have a minimal number of PowerPoint slides here and get right to the action as soon as we can. And then I'm going to walk you through building a selfie tweeter. If we don't have time for this for some reason, if I run out of time, you can immediately refer to our blog, and I've got a posting out there with a video to complement this. Let's begin. A little bit about me. I've been a business applications MVP since 2010. I work at CRM Innovation. We're based in Kansas City. We're 100% focused on Dynamics 365 customer engagement. We do consulting and implementation throughout the greater Kansas City metro area, and we've got a number of other clients throughout the United States. We also build ISV solutions that extend the functionality of the customer relationship management application for event management, email marketing, and one for advanced internet lead capture. You can find me out there on Twitter. You can check out our blog, especially if you're a functional consultant in the CRM space. Got a lot of good stuff out there on empowering citizen developers. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so, but please reference this webinar. So once I see that note in your request to connect, I can accept it right away. And if you'd like to email me, you can get to me at jerry@crminnovation.com. There's no S in innovation. It's singular, not plural. We've only had one good idea. So, flow buttons, what are they? Well, if you work in the CRM space, they're like on-demand workflows. They require some human interaction to kick them off. That's the triggering event. The triggering event is a human being tapping on something, either in the Flow app that you see here on the right-hand side of the screen. That can run on your iOS or your Android device. Or maybe it's a physical button, which I'm going to show you here a little bit later on with these little flick buttons from flick.io. Okay. They're great for doing repetitive tasks, just like workflows, so you can put a series of steps together and have it execute all of them. You can run it anytime at any place. You don't have to be in this application that you're connecting with. You just have to have either the physical button or the Flow app running on your phone. And of course, it's automated, so it's generally going to be error-proof. You can't guarantee that it's not going to fail once or twice in a while. You have to be conscious of the fact that it is something that could fail if your connection has lapsed to the service you're using, or if you didn't build the flow correctly. There may be some not coverage for going down the unhappy path rather than the happy path. But by and large, they're automated flows that are going to execute the business logic probably 99.999% of the time without issue. And of course, if you create a flow button that you like and one of your buddies sees it at your company, you can share it with her. So I'm going to show you the three different types of buttons. One requires some user input. The other uses a physical flick.io button. And then the third one is just a tap and go. You tap on it and it runs and does a bunch of stuff. And then I'll show you how to build the selfie tweeter. Let's take a look at each of these flows before we flip over to the live demo. User input. We're going to ask for first name, last name, company, and buying influence, which is a option set or pick list. And then it's going to submit to the CRM application, actually to the Common Data Service. So you could use the same kind of format for other things besides just customer engagement. You could use it with anything that is based upon the Common Data Service, any of the apps out there that do that. In addition to that, I'm going to show you a little bit about trigger tokens. So we know our phone knows a whole bunch of stuff about us. And I've got a list of the tokens over there that the phone knows about us, that the Flow system can pick up. And I'm going to show you how it'll pick up the address, latitude and longitude. It can also time and date stamp other information and put it in there with your Flow data automatically. I'm going too far. Physical button. Okay, so we got these flick.io buttons. I'll show you in greater detail when I enlarge the little picture of me, the video of me, the front-facing webcam here. As we get to that point, but it's a product that's a Bluetooth connection. You can connect about 150 feet away from the Flick.io app on your phone, or they even have these hubs that you can buy if you want to use them. The Flick app can connect to Microsoft Flow, and when you press one of these little Flick buttons, there's a GUID ID that is sent to the Flick app, which is in turn picked up by Flow, and it can be in response to any of the typical kinds of things you would expect from a mouse: single click, double click, or hold. Lastly, the three different types, we've got a tap and go, and this is a case where it's just going to execute a predetermined sequence of events. And what I'm going to show you is how you can tap on the Flow button and get all the cases that have been created in the last 24 hours out of your CRM system. Selfie tweeter here. Go to flow.microsoft.com, log in with your Office 365 credentials. Hopefully you've got a Twitter login credentials also, and we're going to ask for your tweet, allow you to attach a photo, and then post it out to Twitter. We can show you how to do this in just probably 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Okay, that's the end of the slides. Let's begin with the live stuff. Okay, I've logged into flow.microsoft.com. I'm at my home page for Flow. I click on My Flows, and it takes me to the screen where it'll show all my flows, whether they're enabled or disabled. There'll be 3 flows at the top that we're going to take a look at here today. And the first one is this Create a Contact. Let's dissect it. We'll go into the edit mode. So it's got the triggering action, which is the button, triggering event, and then it's got the actual action which connects and creates a record in my CDS environment. So I'm looking for first name, last name, company, and influencer status. I had F name in there. Let me just fix that. I want to change that to first name. And what is their first name? Come over here, improve this input prompt here. Last name, please. Okay. And then I had competitor in my list, but let's take that out. So I just hit the trash can over there, and that takes that out of my options set list. Now I can expand this Create a Contact action, scroll down, and I can look at here all the fields or attributes in the Common Data System, Common Data Service here for this, my default environment. I've got contacts. This is just one of the many entity types, or if you think of them as tables, that's another way to look at them. If you're a CRM person, it's an entity type. And I've got contacts. And I can scroll down this list and I can see these placeholder values, these kind of slugs or dynamic content here. And if I move my screen over here to the right a little bit, I've got first name. Well, how did I get that? I came over here to my list and I just clicked on first name and it put it in there. Since I've already got it in there once, I don't need to do it again. Did the same thing here for last name. Easy way to search is just come over here and type last. It'll find it for you and you can hit click on it and it'll put it over there. We'll scroll down the list and we'll see the other inputs that I'm going to put into my new record. Influencer status, company, and I come down here to the bottom, all the way at the very bottom. Got a lot of attributes in this entity. I've got my trigger tokens. I've created this new custom attribute field in my CDS environment. And if I look over here on my right-hand side, I can see city, country, region, date, full address, a whole number of things that my phone knows about me that I didn't prompt for. And I've got even my email, user email, longitude, and latitude, and we'll see how that shows up. I can hit save. And while that is saving, I'm going to bring my phone emulator over here to the screen. Going to switch to my contacts view. And don't have any contacts in there right now. I'm looking at a view of contacts that were created today. So I've got my phone running here. And all I do is I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to swipe down on it to make sure that I get a refresh of my button logic onto my mobile app. Tap on the little purple button, create a contact, and there are my prompts. I got Frank, I got Frank Smith, or I could type in Jones. It remembers some of what you had before. So there is some caching, beneficial caching. Type in, enter my input here for the name of the company. I could do speech to text. Tap on the microphone. Really big company. Inc. And didn't like ink. So I'm going to come back over it, go INC. And influencer status, there's my option set or pick list pop up. Frank Jones is a decision maker. Click OK. And then in the upper right hand corner of my Flow app, I've got a done button. Tap on done. It goes off and spins. And while it is spinning can be connecting and creating, it is now done. And hit the refresh button. And there's Frank Jones. So let's open Frank's record here. Take a look at the data I sent over to it. So you may be wondering why, if I'm a Dynamics 365 enthusiast, I'm not using the mobile app, and why I would have something like this running on my phone. Well, one, this is very task specific. It takes a single tap to get to this little app function, Flow button in my Flow app. So I can run it, and if I'm in a networking environment, I can be meeting somebody, grab their name, and before I forget it, I can turn around and start moving over to the next conversation after I leave that person, and then I can enter their information before I've forgotten it. And the other thing, practical issue for me personally, is that my Dynamics 365 mobile app is very often connected to our dev environment because I'm doing training or instructing somebody on something or testing, or it's connected to a customer's environment because I'm showing them how it could work for them. So we've got Frank Jones, okay. I've got the trigger tokens over here, full address, that's my address, longitude and latitude, and then they've got my email address kind of scrunched in there. And I've got by an influence the decision maker, okay? And there we're all set to go. So that is the input button. So that's how you can create a flow button to prompt you for inputs, couple taps, and you've got data in your CRM system. It's available to you in, let's say you could connect to Excel and OneDrive, connect to SharePoint, whatever you want to use for your end party connection, you can use it with. So now we're going to take a look at the physical button, or the flick.io input. Initially I showed you the screen with only 3 flows on it. The other flow for the flick.io is sitting in a different environment. I've got it sitting right over here, and it's right here at the top. We'll go into the edit mode for it, and we'll take a look at it. It's a little bit more complex than the previous one. It's got some conditional logic in it. So the way this works, we'll go through it here and then I'll show you how it looks on the phone. So when a flick button is pressed, we'll expand that trigger action. We want to look at any flick button. I've got 3 of them defined here, okay? But I'm willing to take input from any flick button that's connected to the app that's running on my phone. I could just restrict it to just input from the happy button, the green one right here, or the sad one, the red one, or the yellow one. But I'm saying any, okay? And then I've got this switch case analysis here, and it says on a particular GUID, which I got out of my dynamic values, and there's a UUID, or a GUID, a unique identifier, associated with each flick button. And the Flow mobile app is going to connect to Flick, grab the event, and then grab the ID. And I've got 3 components to this switch case. Over here on the left-hand side, I've got the first GUID it's going to look for. Does it equal this long value right here? Kind of geeky. And if it does match, it's going to send a happy email to me. It says, Jerry, it's going to go to my email address. The subject is happy with the GUID of the button, and it's going to say what click type it was and the latitude and longitude of the click. Now this is not actually where the button is located. This is the longitude and latitude of the app and either it's where my phone is at that moment in time or where the Flick.io hub is. Now, as a reminder, there's a limit of a distance between the button and the your phone app or the hub of 150 feet, because this is a low energy Bluetooth device. So this is not something that you can send a button out with your kid and the kid's going to tap on the Flick button when they arrive at their location they told you were going to, and have it connect to some Flick app that's running on your phone back at your house. Now, if your son or daughter is running the app on their phone and has the Flick button would connect to the phone that's in their pocket, and then Flow could listen to that and then send you the notification. Okay. So besides sending me the email, the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to create a record in my CRM system. It's going to connect to my sandbox instance. It's going to look for a custom entity called presentation feedback, and it's going to stick the GUID value in the name field. And then in a custom field I created called positive, it's going to put the number 1 in there. So I'm going to get 1 vote if I get happy feedback. In the neutral record, or the kind of indifferent record, it's going to put the value of 1 in the neutral field, and accordingly for the sad one. Now, for some reason, in my switch case analysis here, I can compress that and compress this here, and compress my third case. I'm also considering that there could be a case that wouldn't match for some reason. For example, maybe there's another button that I didn't account to that's connected to my Flick device, because if you notice up here, I'm saying any Flick button here, because I want to listen for any of the 3 button types. If it's not one of those 3 buttons, I want to send myself an email if it fails the case switch match, and I'm going to say no match, and in the body of the email, it's going to say no match also. Pretty straightforward, but I've considered both the happy path and the unhappy path here in my little flow. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to save it here, and I'm going to do 2 things here. One is I'm going to bring my phone app back over to the screen here, drag that over, get it running here, and flip to my Flick app here. Okay, and now I'm going to bring my buttons up here and hold them up in front of me. And let's say these buttons are positioned at the back of a room where you're giving you're at an event, and these buttons are at the back of a room with all the rooms where presentations are going on. As people leave the room, they can tap on one of these buttons to indicate their satisfaction with your presentation, or perhaps their dissatisfaction with your presentation. So if I tap on the red button, indicate that I was sad or unhappy about it. You can see the mobile app flicker. If I'm happy, I've got happy. I got another person that's happy. My phone is kind of beeping a little bit now as these emails come in. The third person was happy. So I should have 3 happy responses and 1 disappointed response. So let's go over there and take a look at my CRM system here for a moment. So if I got presentation feedback right here and do refresh, a little bit of demo look, yeah, Yahoo, I got it. So there was a session called Buttonizing Dynamics 365, and I've got 3 positives, 1 negative, and just for grins, I included the GUID of the Flick device. So if I open this up, I can see what my form looks like, where I'm collecting my presentation feedback. Okay, 1 positive, nothing came in the neutral and negative area. Okay, there's a name, and because I'm using my credentials to create this record, I'm the owner of it, and there's that GUID value. Go back to presentation feedback. All right, we're back to presentation feedback, showing the grid view of the 4 records. So the cool thing about this Flick.io product with the physical button is you could use it for an unlimited number of different applications. It's really only limited by your imagination. You could use it for security. You could use it for notifications at a receptionist area. You could use it as notifications for check-in, check-out. One of the things that I've done with it, which is kind of fun, totally out of the business spectrum world, is I've got a Flick button that I have in my car, And I've got a flow, and the way the flow is set up for that flick button is if I click on it once, it connects to Twilio and sends my wife a text message saying that I'm in the car and on my way home. If I tap on it twice, click it twice, what happens is it sends a message to her that I'm running late, but I am in transit. And if I hold down on the flick button, it sends her a text message that says, please give me a call. And that way I can communicate with her that I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be, meeting her on my way home, whatever the case is. And I don't have to pick up the phone and start trying to tweet while I'm driving. So it saved thousands of lives probably in the process. So Flow has come to the rescue and made me a better and safer driver. Now let's take a look at the last of the 3 different types of button flows. This one is email me new cases. Let's go to the edit mode. We'll dissect it, then we'll run it. Manually trigger a flow. There is no inputs up here because it's just going to be tap and run. Get the past time is I want to get the set a marker here in my flow that says go back 24 hours. I could do hours, days, weeks, months, enter whatever interval time in here was appropriate. But in this case, I want to get new cases that have been created in the last 24 hours. I connect to my CRM system, to my sandbox environment. I've got my entity called cases, and I'm saying, take a look at CRMI_demo created on date. That's the name of this custom field that I have. And give me everything that is greater than or equal to this format date time expression that I've created here. This is what it looks like. It uses the now time plus the last 24 hours, combines them into expression, and that's what will return in the OData filter query. Now I can create my HTML table using the value. See the gray connection here, gray here, that's the output from the previous step. Go to advanced options and I can create my table here. These are my column headings. And these are my dynamic values, the dynamic content that I'm getting from my CRM system. Oh, let me just show you here before we go further. Flip over to here, my cases. These are my cases in my CRM system. They're records in a database. They could be in an Excel file in OneDrive online or coming out of SharePoint. We could be connecting here, but since I'm a Dynamics 365 person, that's what I'm demoing off of. And if I wanted to add another column here, I could come over here and go another column, and I can come over here and click in my value, and I could call it maybe the case stage, which may be an active value in my demo environment. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see what it produces. Then I've got this get profile. It's going to connect to Office 365, and since as the person that's running it, running this flow, it's going to connect to Office, grab my credentials that it's going to use in the next step. That makes this a little bit more flexible or versatile to use down the road and when I share this with other individuals, so it gets their credentials. Now I want to send the email. It's going to go to Office 365, get my mail address. Let's see what's available to me. There's mail, and that's where it came from right over here. Display name. Well, and then I could add something else here if I wanted to just go or. Let's just grin. Just is kind of goofy here, but let's just grab let's just see here, given name. And then I've got my HTML formatting here, and then this little purple slug here, or dynamic content, pulls from this purple action step over here. Isn't it great the way the Flow team put that together, made it nice and color coordinated for us? So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to grab my phone app, slide it back over here, make sure it's saved for me here. Okay, it has. And I'm going to do a slide down on the phone here to make sure that the button is refreshed with this display name and given name. It's going to connect to the Flow environment and pull in the latest information. And now I'm going to tap on it and say email new cases. So while that's working, I could have other flows like this that say, hey, send me an email with all the new opportunities that have been created in the last 24 hours. Or send me an email with a list of all the appointments that my sales team has created. So you can use this in a variety of different ways for, let's say, executives that don't want to or don't need to be logging into CRM or don't want to take the time to do it. You can tee it up for them and make this as easy as possible for them. So let's check that over here. Let me check my Outlook, which is running on another screen here. And let me open this up, let it render itself, and then I'll bring it over for you. So you could have an entire grouping of these buttons that you can hand out to your executive team or other managers or even CRM users. So let's drag that over here, and let's see it. Okay, so new cases. Hi, Jerry Weinstock or Jerry. Our columns here, and then we added another column. Oh, we came back with the number 1. So this is one of the things that you need to kind of become acquainted with in Flow is sometimes it's going to bring back a numeric value of an option set or a GUID or something like that rather than the human readable. So you may need to dig down a little bit deeper into your schema to understand what it's going to bring back and what you want to represent. And this is something probably that's pretty unique to Dynamics 365 people and not quite as relevant if you're going to connect to Excel or SharePoint or one of the other environments. Before we go on to show you the Selfie Twitter app, let me recap a couple items. I've shown you a button input requiring information for a contact record, a button that uses a physical flick IO device, and a third one that's a tap and go. You just tap and it runs and it does its own thing. Let me see if I can show you how to do a Selfie Twitter app in under 3 minutes. Come over here to Flow, click on New, Create from Blank, Create from Blank. Again, search for a button. That's going to be the triggering event. Manually trigger a flow. I need some input. Text field, if the first one is going to be what I'm going to tweet. I want another input field, and that's actually going to be a file. So we're going to look for a photo. All right. Those are my 2 steps here in my triggering event. New step is to look for Twitter action, and I want to post a tweet. What's the text to be posted? It's going to come from my triggering event. So I've got tweet here. Remember, it pulls this value here, the prompt. And now I've got some advanced options here. There's only really 2 things you can do. The text you're going to tweet and then attach any media. So I want to come over here. That was prompted with photo. So I look for photo. You don't have to put anything after it. You don't have to put JPEG or anything like that. We're off and running. So I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to go over to my phone. And it's called button post a tweet. Bring it over. Refresh my phone. Should be a 4th button appear. There it is. Post a tweet. Enter your input. Having fun with Microsoft Flow. Need a hashtag. So I'm going to put in space. Hashtag Microsoft Flow, and select an image. I could get it from the camera or my photo library. I'm going to grab it from the camera. Here's my little selfie. Smile. It's working. Click. Tap on OK. I'm done. It runs. And let's go over to my Twitter feed here. And let's go home. Tweets. And there it is. Having fun with Microsoft Flow with the hashtag. And there's my picture. That completes my presentation for today. Thank you very much. I hope you found it valuable. Feel free to Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a tweet, subscribe to our blog. Have a great day.